These two drivers were delivering items as part of their daily routine in South Africa. Everything was going as planned, but a sinister encounter was waiting for them just ahead. These delivery trucks are often targeted in the country. Culprits tend to block the routes where they know these trucks are likely to pass through. This makes this job one of the most dangerous jobs in South Africa. These encounters can get extremely dangerous due to the illegal firearms carried by these culprits. We suddenly see the active driver raising his hands to signal his surrender. The other driver follows these actions as it becomes clear something is definitely wrong here. We then see the culprits taking over the vehicle. They had pointed the firearm at the drivers to signal their foul actions. The drivers managed this situation brilliantly as they tried not to escalate this encounter any further. The clowns were now in control with their faces being fully shown on the dash camera. Their driving even looks a bit shaky here as they move from the area. They were now driving to a location where they would empty the truck and profit off these shameful acts. The two men can be seen consistently looking at the dash camera, but they did not seem to notice anything at first. They finally noticed the camera and try to cover their faces, but it was a bit too late there. The next video is at night, where we first see a car approaching an area. There is another vehicle following right behind as the car in front slows down right by the gate. These people seem to have just arrived home, but they don't seem to notice the tail right behind. This is usually bad news in South Africa, mostly at night. The culprits can be seen approaching the targeted vehicle as they execute their foul plan. In certain scenarios, it is advised to stay inside the vehicle if you notice a suspicious vehicle right behind you when entering your residence. This might give you a chance to try and drive off the scene before the culprits exit their vehicles. It was a bit too late here as we see the clowns take control of the situation. They finish the heist and escape the scene. The next video is at a shopping complex where a cash and transit truck is preparing to transport the cash. The first security personnel brings out the bag from inside the building, and this signals the culprits to pounce on the man. They stormed the scene, guns drawn, ready to engage. The guards had no chance here, as they had all their focus on transferring the money. Their small number in these situations does not help, as they seem to be overwhelmed every time in these encounters. The culprits can be seen collecting the bags of cash to their getaway car, as they prepare to escape the scene. Once they have the upper hand, complying is always recommended to avoid escalating. These culprits are known to shoot victims for fun and have no regard for human life. They were not yet satisfied with their reign of terror, as we see them continue to press the guards inside the vehicle. Unfortunately, most of these cases are never solved due to the shortcomings in both the police and justice system in the nation. This is definitely one of the most dangerous and stressful jobs in the country. Another truck can be seen stopped right next to a line of people. This makes it difficult for the guards to identify possible threats early. The culprits tend to bleed in with the crowd and act like normal people on their daily routines. A parameter make a huge difference when dealing with high-value commodities which are heavily pursued by these culprits. As soon as the door opened, the clowns were ready to strike, and they came straight from the line of people who were possibly waiting at an ATM. There was little to no time for a reaction for the guards in this case. They eventually finished the heist and escaped the scene. The people came late to try and assist the guard, but the damage was already done. These people were busy with their daily routines in the office, but something sinister was about to happen in a few moments. A man suddenly entered the space carrying a firearm. This was now a robbery, and the culprits were demanding money from this office, as we see them threatening everyone inside the room. Everyone was now rounded inside the room as the robbers looked for what they deemed valuable. They knew exactly whom to target and where the money might have been. These culprits must have scouted this space before and knew how everything functioned in this office. The lady was being heavily targeted, as she must have been responsible for running this office and probably knew where most of the money was. She tried her best to cooperate in this terrifying situation, as she was being assaulted and threatened by a firearm. The trauma from these encounters can be really damaging. Props to the lady and the people caught in this ordeal for staying calm. These culprits kept demanding for more money as they turned the place upside down. Recently, many businesses in South Africa have been affected by gangs demanding protection fees. Some of these businesses end up closing due to these unfair practices. The anti-gang unit have also been active trying to stop these actions as the country tries to turn the drastic situation around and save the beautiful nation of South Africa. They must have had inside information on this place. as they even directed the lady towards different drawers inside the office. On this scenario, the culprits came in guns blazing, targeting this jewelry store. These men were breaking everything, and they held a bunch of people hostage inside the store. We then see another view of this heist. This must have been terrible for the workers and the customers, as this took most of them off guard. Fortunately, no one was physically hurt. These victims left the gate open just after entering their home. This is the one mistake you cannot make in South Africa, mostly at night. These culprits tend to follow their potential victims home. The men went straight for the car, as this became a tricky situation for the homeowners. In this case, however, the man did not exit his vehicle, as he might have seen these culprits coming into the yard. We then see one of the culprits coming out of the gate. Their plan was not going according to how they had envisioned it, as the man was not about to give up his hard-earned efforts that easy. In most cases, these culprits come into these situations with no plan at all, and when faced with obstacles, they tend to not know what to do. We do not recommend fighting back in any way when firearms are involved, as the situation can rapidly become tragic. They even tried to hijack the vehicles on the road in a desperate attempt to try and even the scores. The targeted man finally had enough, as we see him reverse the vehicle straight onto the getaway car. He then rushed off the scene. The man came for a second time, ramming straight into the getaway car. The next video is at a house where a white car can be seen slowing down right by the gate. These culprits had noticed an open gate and decided to investigate. Once they see an opportunity, they do not hesitate to take the risk. They decided to enter the space as they continued to plan their next move. Moments later, we see a blue car entering the gate right behind the culprits. Right then, culprits appeared from nowhere, pouncing on the blue car. The driver was not having any of it, as we see him reversing straight out. Fortunately, the driver managed to escape the scene. The final video begins inside a shop. The owner was relaxed by the desk as he waited for customers to come in. He had no idea what was about to visit him this time around. The man was accompanied by a lady who acted as his assistant when assisting customers inside the shop. She was also relaxed on her seat, probably enjoying the little free time she had at the time, but everything was about to change real soon. The owner decided to go to the front to see what was happening outside his shop. We then see a change in demeanor as everything becomes frantic. We then see men entering the shop, being followed by a bunch of culprits carrying firearms. These culprits were carrying some heavy guns, as this became a daylight robbery. These weapons seem to be everywhere in the nation and in the hands of the worst possible people. They start to search the shop for money as they intimidate the owners while holding them hostage. We then see a view from another angle of how this went down. The view from the outside clearly shows how these culprits arrived before targeting the shop. This was a pre-planned hit, and the getaway cars were outside ready for the escape.